Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest installment of the Best Practices webinar series with Constellation Home Builder Systems and our team. We're excited today to step you through some new capabilities on the New Star AP automation platform around a very important class of invoices that are lot-based, most often associated with utility invoices. But as you'll learn in this session, we can do more than just the utility invoices. And we're really excited. The star of the show is Randall Anderson, VP of IT for Green Brick Partners, who use the New Star AP automation platform. And it's going to be a really exciting to hear their lessons learned and guidance and share some ideas that you may find of value. This discussion, this topic is yet another example of the growing New Star ecosystem of solutions. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. It's yet another great example of what can happen when you bring AI into powering your processes in your business. And you'll hear from a leading modern builder, a market leader, Green Brick Partners, and how they're doing it, and an example of putting AI to use in their business and sharing feedback so that some of the lessons learned can be used by you or your team going forward if you find yourself taking this direction as well. Before we close our session today, we'll talk about some exciting steps coming up. We're excited to talk about our first New Star AP Automation user group meeting coming up later. We'll give you some details because on this call, I'm really excited to share we have some customers even beyond Green Brick in the growing group of AP best practices. We're excited to share with you that we're now supporting PO-based invoice automation. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And the next webinar will be about that new PO-based invoice support. During our little bit of housekeeping, during our session today, while you're all muted, you have the ability to ask a question. We may or may not get to the questions, but in this session, but we assure you we will answer any and all questions as part of our follow-up. And you will be, because you're registered for this session, you'll get a follow-up with relevant links, including the recording, some case studies, some additional resources so that you can learn more. So please, any questions, just put them in there and we're happy to answer those. And as I mentioned, the star of the show is Randall Anderson, VP of IT with Green Brick, who really was not only the Green Brick team, but Randall specifically, a lot of the ideas and the innovations and just what is possible when you combine AI, best practices, and really a team like we have at Greenbrook that was really focused on change. In fact, embrace change, and really embracing change and innovation is a great way to really capture their culture. And Randall's a big part of that. So we're very lucky, Randall, to have your time and attention and feedback. And what we're going to do, since on this call there are some home builders that this is our first chance to meet virtually. Thank you for taking those steps. We have some existing AP automation customers in production. We have some that are in the process of implementation. And there's another group of home builders that we've had some conversations with about potentially moving this direction. So before we start getting a little bit more in the details of how it works, Randall, I'd like to turn the discussion over to you and just let us know about your background, what you do at Green Brick, some of your thoughts as you stepped into and led the innovations around AP automation. So if you wouldn't mind, please share your thoughts.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Matt. So I've been with Greenbrick for a little over 7 years. I joined originally to kind of lead up their systems architecture, and then since then moved to lead the entire IT department, which has been challenging, taking over in the middle of COVID, but we've come a long way since then. The marching orders I've been given are to essentially take the technologies we have available to us through Constellation directly or any of their partnerships, and just take that and deploy it to our teams to make them as efficient as possible. And that's where we found Intellinetics and went down that path. The product didn't originally have everything that we needed, but in working with Matt and his team, we were able to really bring that utility automation coding and deploy it to where it's really streamlined that entire process internally for us. But Green Brick, we're a publicly traded home builder. We operate 7 brands in the Texas, Georgia, and Florida regions. Um, I've enjoyed working there the last 7 years, and I'm looking forward to see what else we can do moving forward.
Hey, thank you very much, Randall. I will tell you, going back to some of the initial conversations before we partnered in the context of AP automation, one of the things that's very evident and powerful in Randall's role with the team is that you speak both languages, Randall. You speak technology, you speak business, and sometimes those those languages can be perceived differently. You found, I think some very effective ways at really being a translator in some ways between leadership, operational team, the business, and we'll see more about the power. And when Randall says that there were some things we really couldn't do initially to meet expectations, um, it was a tremendous value and an opportunity to take the gaps. He had the vision, we had the vision, but not as defined, especially from the role of a home builder, right, and a new star user. So you'll see some of that. We'll get back to that in a little bit. Thank you, Randall. What we're going to do now is for the folks that do not have AP automation, um, we're going to spend some time taking you on a virtual tour of the platform so that we can give you context of how we solve these challenges that you're seeing here that are unique to utility invoices. And as you guys may be well aware better than us, it's a concentrated class of document processing that is inherently time, kind of pulls a lot of time. It's tedious, it's redundant. In cases there's some manual steps involved with that. A lot of volumes, all things relative, even adjusted for scale. Things like duplicate invoices. We've seen all kinds of unique, kind of quirky realities from utility billing perspective. They're not shy about sending duplicate invoices. In some cases, we even see the initial invoice has late fees on it, and also they can be lost or not provided, and all of that in a context where timelines are very important, right? So when the home buyer takes responsibility for paying the utilities, it's a good thing not to pay them on their behalf. So you wrap all of that up. That's why this was so important to Randall and Greenbrick to really look at and challenge us in a way to how can we do this in a low or no touch model. And that's what we're going to, that's what we'll see a little bit here as we go forward. So like I said, what I'm going to do is hopefully efficiently take everybody through what the platform does. Because what you're going to learn is that a lot of what happens automatically when we configure and implement this module. So we're going to essentially share with folks that haven't seen anything about the platform what it does, its design points, and the things that it can do. And it's also going to set the stage showing you what happens behind the scenes in a lot of cases with no touch, in how this module works. Okay, so setting the stage, we worked directly with Newstar to build a system that was integrated so that the automation that you're going to see combined with AI can happen. Without the integration, really these things aren't possible. So the way to think about it is Newstar is driving all of this. We are augmenting the capabilities of Newstar to do these new things, but the data and the logic and the rules around the data, your projects, your chart of accounts, your approved cost codes, all of those things are enforced and driven by Newstar. And how we do that is through the integration. And as you look at this visual, it really kind of captures the journey, an invoice journey, high level. It starts with, the capture of invoices submitted from, in this case, we're focusing on the utility invoices, but in short, that capture and intake and the curation of the invoices is the first step. Then it goes through a coding process. It may or may not require other validations, other approvals, but ultimately it goes directly into Newstar in a manner where you don't have to manually update and key that information. It automatically goes in. So high level, that's what we're looking at. And that journey and that broad level life cycle applies to any invoices processed in the system. So AP Console is the new platform that connects and is driven by Newstar that I mentioned. So this is where the user experience begins. Users log in, and I just wanted to show you a screen of the depth and breadth of information and table data that we're getting from Newstar to make all of this work. So the takeaway from this slide is that the synchronization, again, is what drives the automation, so that new vendors that are added to Newstar automatically are available as one project closes out and a new one comes on. All of those, cascade automatically into the AP Automation's module's ability to process invoices. When you take that high-level model and really then take it down to a platform view, you have a capture process that is monitoring all the different ports of entry, if you will, on where invoices might come into the system. Now, in a lot of cases, we all have, external vendor-facing email inboxes, email addresses that are the initial gateway where they send, invoices for next steps within the organization. And that's the very same model that we employ. So we have a capture module or layer that is monitoring certain one or more email inboxes that will centralize the intake of vendor submitted invoices. And you can see in this screen, there's kind of on the left analysis through accepted. That is essentially the top down, really milestones of the invoice journey. From left to right, you can see kind of the user side of things, coding, workflow review, and then the system ultimately sends the vendor or the invoice records right into Newstar. So it's within this life cycle, the invoices come in and then they process. So we're gonna be an invoice and kind of show you an accelerated view of what happens in the process. Behind the scenes, there's a technology layer analyzing the invoices that come in. So high level, think of your invoices at greenbrick.com. That email inbox is being monitored. We're taking the attachments, we're unwrapping them, we're analyzing them, we're validating the information on the invoice. We're using that integration to map to the right vendor. So for example, if somehow an invoice comes in and it's not recognized or we can't resolve it back to a valid vendor in Newstar, right at this step, the system will throw an exception. If we've already got the invoice, it's same invoice number or date in the case of utilities, same amount, we know it's duplicate and we won't let it go in. So there's all kinds of curation happening at this first step on the intake. But it's really very important because what's happening is we're learning a lot about that invoice, extracting the right information. Now it's an intelligent data record that can be processed through the system and ultimately sent right back into Newstar. Okay, so now the AI capture has done its thing. You can see something here called the assignment queue. If this were an email system, that's our inbox. That's where new work items or new invoices land, if you will, to be reviewed and processed. And when we look into the assignment queue, in this case, we're seeing there are 4 new invoices, okay, that are in the assignment queue for work. Now, I'll just make a comment about this intake process. There are ways to allocate work based on different roles, different geographies, so that, for example, when I log in, my assignment queue or inbox or the potential work items that I can get are specific to my role. So not all people see all things. So there's a way to kind of think about this upfront step is not just the technology side, but the business process side of organizing roles and work the way that you do today, only in a more automated platform. So let's say, okay, I'm in my assignment queue. I'm ready to get work on coding an invoice. What happens next is you're kind of seeing the end result of that curation on the first step. We can see the vendor, the invoices that were submitted from the vendor. You can see along the top there's what we call classification. But remember all that integration, all those different tables. We're triangulating and joining, if you will, the different unique parts of the information that we know to give us the whole picture. So you'll see that we know, company code and groups and operating units based on that integration. And you can also see down below that we've read the information off of the invoice that we need in terms of creating that full record and sending it into Newstar. So now we're going to code that. We've selected that work item. Okay, it's loaded, if you will. Now what you can see is this is that integration at work. So this drop-down list, this is what we call guided coding, whereby there's kind of a progressive. It's an H string with operating unit. And if you think about it, every progressive entry, it narrows down the options so that only valid scenarios can be applied to any given invoice. So that guiding is really, again, driven by the logic in Newstar. So now that we've coded this particular invoice, you'll see some additional options. Let's say this is such that we need an approval group. It's got to go out for particular reasons for others to review that invoice and approve it. There are some cases, if you have the privilege to do this, you can kind of, bypass normal protocols. Let's say it's got to be expedited for some reason. This fell through the cracks. We need to speed it directly into the payment process. We can get that right into Newstar, bypassing what we would normally do. And in some cases, we come in and there was some errors. There can be different reasons that happens, but on occasion there are. We can fix those errors and click reanalyze. What that does is basically refresh the curation and the alignment of not only the invoice information, but these other contextual things, again, like operating unit, company code, region code, and so forth. So this guided process, now it's coded, okay? And then in the case of where we need to send it out for approval, okay, now let's say you're a site manager, you're next in line, or it was a land dev or a marketing invoice. It needs, kind of multiple approvals potentially because of the dollar amount or other reasons. If you're not in finance and your role is really that of an approver, I'm a business user, I'm field based, we can simply click on this hyperlink that comes with this snapshot, go into that view, see the coding, see the detail, approve or reject, and all of those workflows, again, are automated within the system. Ultimately, we have an invoice that's been reviewed, it's been coded, it's been approved. Now it's ready to go back, okay, into Newstar. All of the different things I talked about are audited as well. And this is part of that, kind of going back to Randall, some of your requirements and ideas. We want the best of both worlds. We want it to be as low or no touch in this journey, but not so, automated that the proper checks and balances aren't occurring. That's critical. Especially even Green Brick is a publicly traded company. They have all the normal audit protocols and a lot more stringent that apply to public company operations. This history panel right here is showing you some of the granularity of event audits, or just tracking who's touched this. You'll notice the use of color. So the system itself does some things, right? It imported. So this is when the invoice came in that into the system. You'll notice there are user comments that may come in with the approval process, for example. And you'll also see that there are some finance, kind of finance specific comments that may be made as well. So again, the takeaway is it's a managed process, and what you'll come to learn, even if it's a no-touch process, the system is still providing this audit trail. So whether it was guided, semi-automated, whether it was fully automated, you can go back and understand exactly what happened at what stage, at what time, by what user. So compliance and risk mitigation around being compliant and demonstrating audit readiness, that's all critical and part and parcel of the solution. So we've captured it, we've coded it, it's been approved, comes back, and it's ready to go into Newstar. Newstar is going to tell us whether that it received it properly. So again, it's a closed managed loop. And you can see from kind of some of this, I don't know how well it's coming over the visuals, but it's it's audited down to the transaction level. So on a look back scenario where you are asked what happened here, when did it come in, you can see the batch ID. You can resolve a particular need to find an invoice back to the what batch ID was it in Newstar, was it paid, what's the payment detail, because you'll notice there's actually a payment tab here. Even after the invoice successfully goes in to Newstar, Newstar will close out the entire journey by sending payment detail so that the entire life cycle related to the processing of that invoice, including payment, is in one view. And again, just paying homage to the level of integration that we've been able to partner with the Constellation integration team is making all of that possible. And like I said, what happens is it goes up in a batch. Now the system gives you flexibility to kind of create a batch, what invoices are involved. You maybe want to filter out certain invoices. Again, we've come to learn the importance of batch and batch management and how important that is in auditing your process and just your daily work processes. So, this system supports those things. And the nice thing too, a byproduct of all of this integration includes the ability to simply click into icon directly in Newstar to see this detail. So if from this screenshot, you can see that you can click and it'll do an expansion, a drill down on not just what was submitted originally from the vendor, but all the detail related to the life cycle we just talked about, including the payment detail. So the idea is, again, to not only automate the front and the active life cycle of an invoice, that's kind of where the ROI is really built in a tactical sense, time, dollars, and it's pretty easy to put an ROI analysis on that. But what comes with it is all of this, audit readiness and transparency into what the heck happened. And those things add up, right? That's the game changer. And I'll put a plug in for one of our Newstar ecosystem kind of peers, Inform Excel. If for those of you that use Inform Excel, the AP Analyzer, there's a configuration, there's some specific details around how you make the linkage work. But the short story there is any AP Analyzer report that has invoice number in it, and there are many, which makes sense, if it was processed through this module, it's a hyperlink, and this very same linkage to the invoice detail is there. And that can be very powerful when you're building, certain views of invoices, even for things like, bank draws and other kind of audit scenarios that really need ultimately some deep support around these information elements. So we just saw, kind of back to our model here, what we call guided coding. Essentially, the next step is taking all of these capabilities and learning your business policy. And this is where, again, Randall, a lot of credit is due to, this concept that, okay, if you guys today have a policy around how you code, lot-based invoices, and you can articulate that, and imagine you articulate that to us and we take notes. And then we give it back to you and you say, yeah, that's what I said, not what I meant. We go through a little bit of iterations and then we got it. And you say, yep, that's it. Well, at that point, what we can do is take your policy, okay, your rules, if you will, and plug it into a policy engine in the AP automation platform that's configurable. And essentially, all of the different building blocks of automating either low or no touch um, really are we just saw. Okay. And now we can plug in your policy, and if all of the conditions are met, your conditions, then it goes right from that AI intake all the way back through the export readiness. And that is, again, that's the vision that together we were able to implement. And yeah, and I tell you what, Randall, I'm going to kind of ask you to take over from here and give your version of some of these
Mhm.
benefits, because it's really, and then kind of dovetail into your lessons learned and all that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And I will say the platform itself is highly configurable. We have 7 different brands. We've rolled it out to more than half of them. And in each scenario, someone wants it a little bit different. Some of them want line items broken out, others don't want line items broken out. And the input service as well as the coding has allowed us to make those configurations on the fly pretty easily with the help of Matt and his team. So um, I do want to stress how important that's been in being able to kind of fit into any sort of scenario and how we want to use it. But to the utility process, we were facing an issue where, from a unit perspective, we were growing, and the amount of utility invoices we get on any under construction home, as well as the specs and models ongoing, was becoming burdensome. And it's a very repeatable process. It's something you could easily program into something and make it automated. And working with Matt and his team and going through those that requirements gathering process, they were able to generate something that not only could take that manual lift and essentially emails flow in, grab the PDFs, scan them, load them into the system, recognize that vendor as, well, recognize the lot address and map it correctly to the system, recognize the vendor, determine that they're electrical, water, phone, internet, whatever it may be, and then code it to the correct place. Huge time savings. I don't have an exact ROI calculation. We're working on it, but it's been a great efficiency pipeline for our team and allowed them to focus on other things. Um, and the other thing that kind of feeds into it is, I mean, for other publicly traded home builders out there, auditors are great. They're fun. And we had to make this process streamlined in a fashion that we could easily not just get all the information flowing as quick as possible and automated, but also make the checks and balances of pulling up that batch in Newstar, being able to go line by line, pulling up Intellinetics, the coding platform on the other side, and see what was done and making sure that everything matched between the systems before we hit post in Newstar. And Matt and his team, they were able to deliver and make that process as well as efficient as possible. So it's provided great value. Um, yeah, lessons learned. Uh, there's lots of things in the configurations I wish I'd known ahead of time, but we've gotten it all worked out. We initially rolled this out to 3 of our building brands, and we're looking at rolling it out to 2 more in the coming months. So those are going to be a little bit more streamlined. And I think Matt and his team as well have documented all of that, so it should be easy implementation for others moving forward. And next, we're really excited about expanding this into our non-utility lot-based invoices. So any of the vendors that we aren't currently doing the full just auto pay through Newstar, leveraging it for back office invoices as well. I think my department being in IT, we have probably some of the larger quantities of back office invoices that we get hit with. So I'm looking forward to kind of pushing my department and its invoices through this as well.
Fantastic. That's awesome. How dare you, Randall, take some of these efficiencies and use it for your team? I mean, There
I
you
just
go.
want to push a button. That's the goal.
Hey, people, he's not kidding on that. It's awesome. It's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I will just say this. I'll kind of give my um, as a partner with Green Brick, with Constellation Home Builder Systems. I can't thank the collective enough that it's a joint effort and this is a partnership. If you think about what you just saw, and maybe some of you are doing this in other ways, and I commend you for that. As you're well aware, the complexity and transaction volumes of cost accounting and construction. If it were a contest, I think you might win or be in the top, in the top 10% in terms of complexity. And the goal is to leverage the business relationship and partnership to build the integration to give you as the new star customer options that are really difficult to create on your own, just due to complexity and changing things. So for example, the model that you're seeing, we're synchronizing the technology build so that the next point release doesn't break something. It's a kind of a future-proof mindset. That's a big deal, right? That's protecting your investment, right? And protecting your ability to get used to, if you will, the new level. Now it's a new normal. You know what I mean, Randall? It's kind of interesting, but no touch. Like now, it's like, well, of course we did that, And my point is, as you go forward and continue pushing the innovation envelope, you don't want any worry, if you will, about kind of taking steps back. And in that regard, everything keeps moving forward. I want to share with attendees that again, we have a New Star Automation AP Automation user group. We have, we're past 20 builders, so we've got this critical mass. And the idea is not the widget. We think it's pretty cool, but it doesn't matter, right? What matters is the business results and best practices that you guys can first benefit from and implement, like Randall in Greenbrook, but share those innovations with your peers so we can all move faster, right? Which is the goal. And I will just say on that topic, we're already engaged with the NX group. So anybody at any time in the future, if you're going that path, that just goes back to this evergreen mindset and protection of your investment. We're already, actively working with Rachel and their team in that path. Really excited. The 2025 inaugural user group chair, Alana Tish, who's with Colin Built Development, is going to be leading the efforts. And by the way, a really cool footnote: Alana was instrumental. If you can think of it this way, Randall, Alana played your role in lot-based utility automation, but for the whole thing, kind of version one. So really, really an amazing source of lessons learned and wisdom around how to do these things. And March 30th, we're releasing our next upgrade will include some level of PO-based invoice support, and more to come on that. But that a lot it turns out that some of the inefficiencies are really labor aspects of invoice processing spills over into the PO world as well. So we're really excited about that, and the interest is really high. We're excited. So the new release has that, and you can see that new release on April 24th. So again, just kudos to the Constellation team and the growing partner ecosystem to make the vision of modern home building come to life. The cool thing is it kind of seamlessly fits in the UI. So Randall, a little peek, but if I don't know that there's interest there, but it's just in general, keep it simple, keep it automated, and just make that a seamless transition for the day-to-day users, which is key. Um, and again, in the end, this is about an extension of New Star so that you have peace of mind that all of the, that's the source of truth. That's the way this thing is designed. And, you'll see us at the Build Smarter conferences. We're there at IBS, and we're growing the partner ecosystem and the customer peer group in the user group. So we're always trying to add value in all those different ways. Again, we're glad the interest is high. We want you guys, in the peer group. And saying that, I just want to let you know too that one of the things we've learned, and again, Randall, with you guys specifically, is we can look at this in a very modular way. So you don't have to boil the ocean. You don't necessarily have to tackle it all. And so we have now really built a kind of, I won't say an express, but think of it, phase one as an express, journey into this world where we're focusing on lot-based um, automation, invoice automation, and you can build in one step. So let's say you never move from there, great. Let's say you like that, and like Randall just talked, you're now going to turn your sights to the general non-PO based world. Awesome. And then now you can even grow into PO. So we encourage you to talk to your new star reps. Certainly you can call us, but in short, we work very closely as part of the Constellation team. And we'd love to understand where you are and share what we're learning and seeing as we bring this to a bigger group of builders. Um, I'm just looking at a couple of questions here as we look to close out. Really, a lot of them are around next steps and how you can learn. So again, I just kind of talk through that please reach out to your new star rep, reach out to us. We can share with you some additional details, provide a step through the platform, connect you with some of your peers, just like Randall. Um, to give you an idea of just how this idea of benchmarking, right, and data-driven everything. The Green Brick metrics around their IT organization versus the scale of the company are incredible and best in class. So when I'm kind of bragging about you. I should have asked you to step out of the room, Randall, but um, I just tell you, from an innovation perspective, in a how do we scale without compromising quality, security, customer service level, right? All of those things. They certainly share all those concerns, and with Randall's leadership, the performance is there. So again, I encourage you to talk to him. So in
And
short,
Matt,
yeah.
real quick, I just want to, yeah, and I appreciate all that. And we do, we run a pretty lean team, but I cannot take all the credit. I've got a great team behind me, and we also have great partnerships with those in the business. This would not have been, we would not have been able to accomplish this without the our heads of accounting and finance at the various builders and the AP team members that put in the time and effort to do the testing. Because without that, there's there's no making this happen. So not all on me, but thank you.
Well, that's great, and I certainly agree with you, Keith and the team. And it's interesting, just again on the lessons learned, that part of it is really much more important than kind of the what I say the widget, the platform. But in a way, it takes it all. So I just want to thank Constellation Home Builder Systems, for the time and collaboration to bring this message to you. I encourage you to, if you're a current customer, be on the lookout. We want you involved in the customer groups, and more on that. PO-based support is in the next release, which is uh, tomorrow, a couple weeks away. And then also we have a webinar in again coming up on that. So we're here to support your interest and reach out, and we can get a conversation started. So I thank everybody for the time, and be on the lookout for all the follow up. And we hope to talk to you very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks, Randall. So I can close the session now. Thank you, everyone, for
Thank you for
joining
having
Thank
in.
me.
you, everybody. Thanks, Randall. See you guys.
Thanks for having me. Bye.